So, a couple things to go over. First thing, I looked into this coin more, and I found out the mintage on this is about 100,000, a little over, but it's probably not anywhere near worth $50. At least not in this kind of condition. Now, granted, this was marked down quite a bit from $50, so I didn't pay that much for it, but I probably did pay more than I should have. But they didn't make very many of these over its entire several-year run, so I felt like if you're going to get one of these, you want to get it because you're not going to see very many of them. So that's one reason why I don't mind paying slightly more than I should have. Now, this, very worn, but it's the Orleans Mint coin with the rays. 1 year design, even though the date's about gone, which you can kind of see 1853 partially, but it's pretty well worn off. But this coin becomes very expensive in higher grades. And I have the quarter of Philadelphia and the $50 for Orleans. Now I have the Orleans, well, not Orleans $50, but Philadelphia. The Orleans $50 is the one I need to complete the 4-coin set. Maybe someday I'll be able to find that one. It'd be nice. Now, did buy this today. It wasn't very expensive. It's a 1929 Mercury dime. Last year they made these was 1945. So there was no real reason to save this at all for 15 years or more. And then maybe after they started making the Roosevelt dimes, people started taking these out of circulation. So it had some circulation, but for a 1929 dime, it does not look that bad. And a 275 is not a lot over melt, really. I mean, silver went up to almost 32. Well, it went over $32, but it retreated to 31 something. Now, again, staples. They need to be flattened. This is a little bit better Mercury dime for this age than a lot of them I see. A lot of them in the 20s are worn and the rim is starting to go away. This one's pretty solid on the rim, front and back. It would probably be at least a fine grade, maybe. So, how you guys doing? Yeah. Now, 1908 Barber with some toning. Someone had originally wrote 850 on this. My coin dealer marked it down to 350 because it is circulated and it's not that rare of a coin. The Liberty's gone. You still see the eye and the ear and part of the bonnet or whatever hat, whatever that thing's supposed to be. In the back, though dark, it doesn't look bad. Now, that was a speck of dirt on the plastic. It's got a scratch right on the M there too. But $350 for these with full rims, I didn't think was a terrible price. And you know, if I resell it in the future, I might be able to ask more than the $350, but less than the $850, because I don't think anybody would pay $850 for it. And my coin dealer has a saying about pricing on coins like this. When you have an older coin and someone That they probably pulled that from the book, guessing the grade to be on this one. Probably very good. Um, Maybe even fine. It's not worn very much, so they probably wrote that price down. But a lot of the guides, when they put a price on a coin like this, it's if it's been graded by, one of the grading companies. Well, this wouldn't be a very good coin to send to be graded because there's no value in the coin hardly. And just because it's over 100 years old doesn't make it worth a lot. Now, some of them that are lower mintages, which a lot of barber coins did have lower mintages, they can be kind of expensive. Now, one other thing. Just got this coin, and I'm going to have a short for it. It's well worn, but this is the kind of coin that this is a hole filler for your catalog. If you're, trying to get a coin from this time frame. This is an 1819. Again, the date is there, but it's very faint. You can kind of make it out. They only made this particular design for 3 years anyway, so it could only have been 1 of 3 years. And I don't know how many they made. I don't know how many are still around. I do know it's a sterling silver piece, and it's pretty big coin, about the same size as a Morgan dollar, and probably would be nearly the same thickness when it was not worn. Of course, not worn would make this probably well over $100. Maybe 150. I really don't know, but it's nowhere near that kind of quality. But it is sterling silver, and being that you can get it cheap, I'll buy it when you can get them cheap. Now, old Mexican coin. This I got for pretty close to melt. It's a bit worn, but that's how you get coins like this for a decent price. They have to be a bit circulated, and I don't mind that. I mean, there's history with this. This one is 120 years plus old, and it's 90.27% silver. That's 0.9027. So it's a bit more than 90%, but less than sterling, which is 0.925. Now, when you talk, older coins, this isn't super old, 1948, but it is 90% silver, and it's 30 grams. So it's silver content's like 0.868 of an ounce, and this one's not really worn hardly at all. When I got it, the rim was really dirty because the card mount it was in wasn't really big enough. This coin's a bit bigger than a US dollar coin, and that's what it was in. So I took it out and handled it some on the rim mainly, and some of the dirt came off. But I mean, you can see it's really not circulated much, if at all. But the 48 they made a lot of. It's this one, which completes the set. The 1947. Again, it's 90%, 30 grams. And you can read that name. I don't know exactly how it's pronounced. I'd probably butcher it, but you can see this coin isn't really circulated either. It's a pretty nice conditioned one, but I completed a set with that. And that's, it's nice to complete sets when you can. Now, going back to the South African coin. 1893, a little over 100,000 were made. It is about a third of an ounce of silver by its content, 0.3364 ASW. This is slightly worn and might be partially poorly struck, which is a problem that they have with these. But I mean, the rim doesn't look worn, so I think some of this is poor strike quality. And like maybe they didn't have enough force. This coin was struck in South Africa. The first year they made these, they were struck, if I remember what I read correctly, they were struck in Berlin. So it's a neat coin, but it's not worth as much as I thought it was, really. And but I did pay a lot less than what is wrote on here. And one thing I will say about coins like this, when you get them, and people write higher prices and then the coin dealer resells it cheaper, is because most coin dealers know if you price this at that price, it'll be a while before someone really wants to buy it. It'll be someone who needs a 1908 Barber and they haven't been able to find one, and that's who would pay more for it. Someone who just had to have it. Otherwise, this is the kind of coin that if you price it at $8.50, you'll never sell, or likely never sell, or take a real long time. And one thing my coin dealer tells me is an unsold coin doesn't make you any money. So that's a interesting saying, and he's right. I mean, you can price your coins at whatever you want. The higher you ask, the less likely people are going to want to buy it. Now, this one is not quite 100 years old, and it's 720 silver, which I kind of like this design quite well. Let's see if it'll focus nice. Sometimes focus doesn't always focus the way you want it to. Sometimes if you hold it like this and bring it, it'll do better. It's still better if you really want to see it to use this, because this refocuses the camera. You have to be really close to the camera and really close to the coin to use these. This is a 10X, and it's a triplet brand loop. And we'll look at the back a little bit. You can see there's a little bit of flatness on the legs and talon of the eagle eating the snake or attacking. But it's not worn terribly bad. Oh, you go to a coin shop and they've got it in a card and it's a nicer example, they might see a price of $15 to $18 maybe. And I think I got that one a little bit less than that. But again, we'll tell the story of this one. Morgan dollar. No mint markets, Philadelphia. 1921, I know that for a fact, although the date has been ground off. And the story I heard about this was Reno had some coin machines that used dollar slot machines. Hello, Del Marvius digging. By that, I'm assuming you do metal detecting, perhaps. But anyway, slot machines use dollar coins. And in order to prevent people taking the older ones away, which they might have, or they probably did some, and they need the coins to operate their slot machines. So, at the time, this was $1 in the 70s, and the value of silver in it wasn't yet over $1. So it was just $1 basically. Now, the value of the silver in it today, being that this is really close to its starting weight because it's not really worn much, a little bit, but melt on these the other day was about $25 almost. So it's worth 25 times its face roughly, even though it's been damaged just by the silver content. But you can, a coin like this, I have no reservation about pinging it. How well this comes through over this, I don't know. It's still ringing. And I think it just stopped. Sterling has a nice ring to it, and so does 90%. This one, being that it's got the date ground off, it'll never be worth more than its silver, really. And that's kind of nice. Now, I did want to show something else. Garrett at Pro and Garrett at Max. Awesome. All right. In this bag or bank envelope, there's a bunch of junk silver I've bought recently. A lot of $50. In fact, most of it is $50. There are some quarters. But the one I want to talk about is this one right here. And I'll pull it out to show you. If you have a silver coin and the rim is cracked, it's not going to ping the same way. These are generally worn. So if it'll sit up here, get it close. Rings nice. Now, this one has a hole in the rim is cracked. I mean, and it's slightly bent and damaged too, but everything looks right otherwise, except for the hole drilled in it. And it weighs, I think it's 12.1 grams, but it won't ping the same way. It won't ping because it's cracked. It's not going to ring, which is odd, but it's the only coin, 50-cent piece I think I have that's got a crack in the rim. And I don't have any silver dollars with a crack, but I do have some that have holes drilled in them. They'll still ping nice with a hole in them, just as long as the rim isn't cracked. So I want you to keep that in mind. Now, out of the rest of these, it's $3 face value of walking liberties in a lot of wear. And when I bought it, it was a little under melt for the entire lot, because I weighed all the coins and then took the melt value of it. You can see how it's bent. See how the two coins on this side roll and then the gap happens. So it's bent. But I figured it out down to the gram how much silver, 1 gram of 90% silver was worth, and then weighed all the coins and come up with a price. And I think when I bought it, it's about $1 something under melt, which happens, especially when the coins are well worn. They're no longer worth anything to the point of being a collector item anymore. Because most people who collect want the best possible condition coin they can get. But if you're just stacking coins, and there's one standing liberty in this dateless, and 5 more walkers. So this is the kind of stuff that you can get under melt sometimes, depending on if your dealer is willing to keep and sell ones that are worn beyond any collectible, because identifying what year this particular walker is going to be hard. Date's gone. So I don't think you can do it. And it might have had a mint mark, but that appears to be worn enough where the mint mark is on this that you wouldn't see it. So again, I weighed all the coins, added it all up, divided it by the silver, price of 90% silver at that time, and that's what I paid for it, give or take, right near melt. This one's got dimes, quarters, and half dollars in it. So how much is in here? Looks like 2 halves, 2 dimes, and 4 quarters. So $2.20 face value. Again, weighed out all the coins. And figured out how much. And that barber dime is really well worn. You see part of the date. Looks like 1910. Yeah, it's 1910. But when I buy this kind of stuff, I try to make sure I'm not really buying it over melt. And then the only way you really make money reselling it later is the silver's up a lot from when you bought it. Of course, when you have bags like this, you only know the approximate time frame it was when you bought them. And this is a $1.25 face. It takes $1.40 of this when it's circulated roughly to make 1 troy ounce of silver. So keep that in mind. But all in all, there's $2.75 in that one, $1.75 in this, so, or $1.25 I mean. So that makes 4, 7, and then this one is $2.20. So $9 and I think 20 cents face value in these 4 bags of U.S. silver, all bought right at melt. The only price to pay for the worn stuff. But I think I'm going to go ahead and bring this live stream down with a question. Now, the game tomorrow, right? I don't want to mention what it's called because sometimes they get a little picky about that. And if you ever are, making money doing this, they don't let you talk about it that way. It's a licensing thing or something. So who's going to win? I can mention the cities, Kansas City and Buffalo. Well, this is a Zwie mark from 1912, German coin. Without the hole, it's 0.49 something ASW, so it's about a half an ounce of silver in this. And it does have lettering on the edge. So who's going to win? We'll find out about this time. Well, not quite this time. It'll be later than this tomorrow. But I probably won't go live or put any videos up for tomorrow just because I don't want to compete with everybody watching that. But that's pretty much what I have for this, and I hope that everyone has a good night. And we'll see you next week for live, because I'll do a live stream next week. And hope everyone has a great day, because that's all I got.